Good evening. How's the mic? Can you hear me in back? Yeah. Charlie? Mr. Gaskin can hear me, so we're all right. Are you guys ready yet? Thank you. Well, tonight, bird is the word at the WMI, and that was going to be funnier in my head, I guess. I'm sorry. All right. Thank you so much for being here for this second in the lecture series of the Friends of the Working Men's Institute. It's my pleasure to introduce the president of the Friends, Jeannie Maudlin, who's going to introduce our speaker tonight.
Good evening. Thank you, Ryan. I'm on my tippy toes. We'll see how this yoga class pays off, how long I can stay up like this. Oh, thanks. That's good. You know, this lecture came about this evening as a result of patron request. We all know, those of us who live here in New Harmony, that birds are a thing. We can go down to the river and see eagles. Last week, the rose-breasted grosbeaks were visiting, the cedar waxwings. I know folks are hearing them on their Merlin app. I generally have junkyard birds at my feeder, grackles, sparrows, and starlings, although I did have a pileated woodpecker visit twice last week, so I'm kind of feeling avenged. But at any rate, for those of us who love birds, we know the place to go for food and info is Wild Birds Unlimited. So when we had patrons say, we got to learn more about drawing birds to our backyards, our board immediately thought, well, we need to go to Wild Birds too. So Kelly Reid is on staff at Wild Birds Unlimited, and many of you may have run into her as you have been there. Kelly began feeding birds when she became a stay-at-home mom, and it was kind of a thing that she fell into love with. And then, of course, eventually made her way to Wild Birds Unlimited, like most of us have. So at any rate, it is my pleasure to introduce to you all tonight Kelly Reid from Wild Birds Unlimited.
Hello. Make sure you can hear me okay. Thank you all for having me. Tonight we're going to talk about the joy of bird feeding and how you can attract and feed your backyard birds. You can imagine looking out your window tomorrow morning, and instead of a quiet, empty patch of grass, you'll see vibrant flashes of red and yellow, and you'll hear the bright, cheerful song of a goldfinch or a cardinal. Transforming your yard into a wildlife sanctuary is easier than you think. Tonight we'll explore how simple changes can bring your outdoor space to life. No one becomes a great painter overnight. Time, research, and care are all necessary for any work of art, and the same goes for attracting birds to your yard. With just a few simple tips, you will not only be contributing to the well-being of our feathered friends, but you'll also be turning your yard into a masterpiece. Just like watching a good movie, watching the birds can distract us from what's going on in our lives, temporarily redirecting our emotions and mental energy. Bird feeding stations will set the stage for a front row view into the dramatic lives of the birds around us, providing us a mental recharge from our own hectic worlds. Bird feeders are not just for feeding the birds, they also become a great way to observe bird behaviors, roles, and patterns. How a bird behaves while attending a feeder reveals a lot about its personality and how it fits into the ecosystem outside our doors. When newly arrived, a bird may appear alert or on guard, but after time it will relax. We see it become acclimated to its environment. Birds behave very similar to the way people do when introduced to new situations. Some of the birds will show dominance over a feeder with an impatient me-first attitude. These birds will push other birds off their perches with no apologies. Others will carefully watch the feeder, waiting for a vacancy sign or an open seat at the table. Some will rarely sit on the feeder at all. Instead, they act as the cleanup crew, happily scarfing up what falls from the feeders above. And then there are bird bullies. Despite their small size, even if you have hummingbirds outside your door, you will quickly notice that their bold behavior These feisty little birds don't let anyone, no matter how much bigger, get in their way. You can start watching the behavior of birds at your feeders, and you'll quickly see what can be revealed about the lives and personalities of these feathered friends. To get a variety of birds, it is best to use a combination of all feed types. It's also important to note that not every bird will like every mixture of bird seed. You may have some birds that really enjoy different types of seed and some that do not. The beginning of your bird journey will attract birds may feel like a trial and error experience, and that's okay. This kind of magic does not happen overnight, and it may take time for the birds to find your buffet. We live in a world of constant notifications, deadlines, and screen glare, but by the end of the day, our minds feel completely drained and exhausted. There is a free, highly effective remedy sitting right outside your door. Nature acts as a reset button for a stressed and overwhelmed nervous system. In this presentation, we'll discover how feeding the birds can use nature as a form of medicine. When we step outside and into nature, chemical responses explode inside our bodies. Cortisol, the hormone that goes into overdrive when we're stressed, starts to lower. And instantly our bodies and mind begin to react to the natural connections that trigger internal changes that can improve our well-being, emotionally, mentally, and physically. Science-based research shows that connecting with nature reduces our stress levels significantly. The more we connect, the better we feel inside and out. A recent study by the University of Michigan concluded that if we connect with nature for at least 20 minutes at a time, 3 times a week, our cortisol levels will lower significantly. If we dose ourselves with nature, we medicate ourselves naturally by lowering our cortisol levels, and as a result, our overall health and disease resistance will improve. Research demonstrates that by watching birds, we can improve our health. So why feed the birds? I feed the birds because not only does it lower stress, it also brings me joy. I never get tired of watching the same beautiful birds every day all year long. Every season, I also get to see new birds and different behaviors. I always hope to see a variety of birds such as the Carolina chickadee, northern cardinals, and American goldfinches every time I look out the window. Watching these birds at your feeders also fill the spaces of your day. Every time you glance out the window, you're blessed with a quick little bit of nature. A quick look at the feeders might be all you need to move through the spaces between your daily activities, or you just might pause for a few seconds and see 10 or 12 views of various birds flitting in and out, and then carry on with your day. The mixture of the daily, the new, and the seasonal is what makes bird watching so engaging. Even if I do see chickadees every day, they still behave differently every day, and even more so in the different seasons. There's always something interesting to explore when watching birds. They might visit feeders only a few times a day, as in the summer, or they might show up every 15 minutes in the winter. Sometimes they seem to get along with each other, and at other times it's obvious that they have a very defined pecking order to determine which alpha bird gets first dibs at the feeding spot. Sometimes the flock is only chickadees, and sometimes they show up in a mixed foraging flock with titmice, nuthatches, and downy woodpeckers. The members of the flock are always busy chatting and calling, and all in their own language, with each species behaving in its own way. And then, just as suddenly as they arrived, they all depart. If I am lucky enough, I will hear the primitive call of the pileated woodpecker, and then one of those giants, 30 times heavier than a chickadee, will swoop in to the tree next to the feeders. It cackles as it checks out the scene and then flies to the remaining few feet to the suet feeder. If those chickadees are joyful, the pileatids are magnificent. These living dinosaurs nearly take my breath away at what nature can produce. One of the greatest joys of bird feeding is that you never know who's going to show up at your feeder. Across North America, over 180 bird species can be attracted to your yards with the right food, water, and shelter. In any given yard, you can attract 60, 100, or even more kinds of birds. That's a lot of joy and awe right outside your window. Another great reason to feed the birds is the fact that you're giving back to nature by replacing the resources that have been lost to the birds as civilization creeps in. Think of the positive effect that thousands or even millions of backyards as a personal, sustaining relationship with nature. This relationship can remain just that, personal, or you can become part of the larger picture of conservation by participating in citizen science projects that help inform decision makers on how to save our diminishing natural habitats. For some bird watchers, the hobby provides a break from the complexities of the modern world. By taking time to buy the products, plan their placement, keep the feeders full, and watch the birds arrive, hobbyists can create a mental and physical sanctuary in their own backyards. Most people buy a feeder, hang it up, and immediately regret it. They end up fighting squirrels and cleaning up mess or blocking their own view. Taking the time to plan beforehand will save hours of frustration later. Let's dive into the essential checklist for planning your own station. You should offer feeder-free foods to discover which foods work best. The basics for everything else in bird feeding is understanding of which foods actually will attract the birds in your yard. You first need to put out a variety of foods with no feeders to obstruct the bird's view. You should offer samples of all the basic foods to entice as many species as possible. You should use a food tray, a basic food tray. Is to buy it or you can build it. It can be as simple as a 2-foot by 6-inch board or as elaborate as a neatly displayed shelf divided into compartments. Birds are very comfortable feeding from a tray. They can easily see other birds that might be aggressive, and they can quickly decide whether they want to stay or leave. Sunflowers are the best seed to start with. Sunflower seeds or sunflowers without shells, called sunflower chips, kernels, or hearts. Sunflower seeds are the single most popular bird seed because they are the energy bars of the world. Birds crave calories above all else. Black oil sunflower seeds are packed with fat and oil. This high fat content is crucial for birds to maintain their high body temperature, especially during those freezing nights. The dense calories provide the energy reserves needed for long flights and their nesting duties. Unlike the striped sunflower we humans eat, black oil sunflower seeds have a very thin, papery shell. Even those small birds like chickadees and titmice can crack them open easily, meaning that they spend less energy getting to their meal. The kernel inside is large relative to the shell, offering a better return or investment for the bird's effort. While some seeds, like Niger, only attract finches, and others, like corn, only attract jays, sunflower seeds attract most everyone. Here in Indiana, this single seed type will attract northern cardinals, blue jays, chickadees, nuthatches, titmice, goldfinches, and downy woodpeckers. White millet is also another great option. It's highly beneficial for the birds because it provides essential, easily digestible carbohydrates for those small-beaked ground-feeding species. It acts like a whole grain bread for the birds, supplying vital, easy digestible carbohydrates that fuel their high metabolism daily. The seeds are small and thin-shelled. Small-beaked birds can crack them instantly without wasting precious physical energy. White millet has a naturally hard, weather-resistant outer coat, and it resists rotting and moisture damage because much better than the cracked corn and wheat. Peanuts. Peanuts come shelled or unshelled, unsalted, roasted, or blanched. They are an exceptional high-energy superfood for backyard birds, offering a potent combination of fats and protein. These peanuts are packed with a lot of healthy fats. This concentrated fat will allow birds to pack on essential weight to survive, again, those freezing nights. And because wild birds burn energy incredibly fast, a single peanut offers more sustainable fuel than dozens of the small millet or milo seeds. The fat reserves gained from peanuts help sustain migratory species on their long-distance journeys. Unlike many grains that only provide carbohydrates, peanuts are high in protein. This is crucial during the spring nesting season for feather development and chick growth. Birds require massive amounts of protein to regrow strong, healthy feathers during their annual molting periods. Peanuts are the absolute favorite food of highly intelligent, charismatic birds. Offering them will immediately draw blue jays, woodpeckers, nuthatches, and tufted titmice. And because the peanuts are large, birds like blue jays will often weigh them in their beaks to find the heaviest one, or cache them in a tree bark, providing great viewing entertainment. Another option is fat. A suet blend cake or other fats such as suet nuggets or bark butter bits. These fats are the single most crucial component of a bird's diet because they function as high-energy aviation fuel. A bird's heart can beat over 600 times per minute, and their body temperatures average around 105 degrees Fahrenheit. They burn energy faster than almost any other warm-blooded creature. Fat provides more than twice the metabolic energy of carbohydrates or proteins. A bird eating fat-rich foods gets massive return on their investment for the time spent chewing and foraging. And those migrating birds rely almost entirely on the stored fat reserves to power their muscles for that continuous, long-distance flight across hundreds of miles. Fruit also serves as an essential hydration pack and nutrition booster that fuels both summer nesting duties as well as long-distance fall migrations. While fats act as slow-burning fuel, the natural fructose and glucose in fruit will provide immediately, easily absorbed energy. In late summer and autumn, birds dramatically shift their diets toward berries to build up quick fat reserves before the long-distance migration. Fresh fruit consists mostly of water, making it a vital hydration source for the birds during those hot summer stretches when open water is scarce. Fruits are packed with vitamins and antioxidants that support a bird's immune system during times of high stress, such as the nesting season. The natural pigments found in dark berries like blueberries, elderberries, and raspberries directly influence the brightness of a bird's plumage after molting. Dull feathers often point to a fruit-deficient diet. Many of the most beautiful backyard birds have soft bills that cannot crack open hard sunflower seeds or peanuts. Offering fruit is the only way to bring them to your yard. In the Midwest, a fruit station will attract stunning species like Baltimore orioles, cedar waxwings, gray catbirds, scarlet tanagers, and American robins. Nectar is the natural equivalent of a sports energy drink. It provides high-octane sugar to fuel for the highest metabolism birds in your yard. Hummingbirds have the highest metabolism of any warm-blooded animal on Earth. Their wing beats up to 80 times per second, and their hearts can race over 1,200 beats per minute. To sustain this burning pace, a hummingbird must consume its own body weight in nectar every single day, visiting hundreds of flowers or feeders. Here in Indiana and the broader Midwest, your nectar setups will specifically attract the stunning ruby-throated hummingbird, alongside occasional visits from the Baltimore orioles early in the season. The recipe to make the perfect formula is 4 parts water to 1 part plain white granulated sugar. You slightly boil the water to eliminate any impurities. You'll stir in your sugar until it's completely dissolved and then let it cool completely before filling the feeder. Any commercial red dyes are unnecessary and also dangerous, as they can cause kidney damage and bill tumors in the birds. The red plastic on the feeder itself is more than enough to attract them. Also, do not use honey, which can grow deadly mold, or brown sugar, or any artificial sweeteners. The recommended saucer-style top-fill feeders over vacuum bottle feeders are better because the saucers do not drip in the hot sun and are significantly easier to clean. You should hang these feeders in partial shade to prevent the sugar water from fermenting too quickly, but keep them near bright, nectar-rich flowers to catch the bird's eye. Ant motes, which are small water cups above the feeder, and other specialized bee guards will keep insects out of the sweet syrup. So after 3 or 4 weeks with this tray method, you'll want to keep providing the foods that attracted the most visitors and the specific birds that you most enjoy watching. You can continue to offer the foods separately, or you could opt for a high-quality blend that includes most or all of the foods preferred by your target birds. You can also offer a no-mess blend, so to avoid a pile of sunflower and millet seeds under your feeder. If your birds have also eaten your fat offering, you should continue with a suet blend cake, suet nuggets, or spreadable suet smeared on tree trunks. By determining which foods were eaten and which birds brought you the greatest pleasure, you can start to build your feeding station. Based on your observations, you can decide which foods you want to continue providing. This knowledge, in turn, will guide your purchase of the appropriate feeders. The tray feeder is an excellent starter feeder, but it does have its drawbacks. It probably will need to be filled daily, and it does not protect the food from rain, snow, and wind. It might be a good idea to invest in a larger feeder that holds more food and offers protection from the elements. You'll probably want a tube feeder or hopper feeder. Either will work for blends with mostly sunflower seed, but hopper feeders tend to be better than tubes if the blend contains large pieces such as tree nuts or fruit. A tube feeder is the foundational workforce of any backyard bird watching, specifically designed to protect small songbirds and keep seeds fresh. The short perches and the narrow body layout favor lightweight, agile birds while making it physically awkward for those heavy, aggressive birds to land. This is the absolute best feeder choice for attracting highly desirable species like those American goldfinches, chickadees, tufted titmice, nuthatches, and house finches. And it will naturally deter the bully birds like the blue jays, crows, and grackles, ensuring that your smaller, peaceful yard guests can eat without being intimidated or chased away. Unlike open platforms or hopper feeders, the seed is also completely sealed inside of a heavy-duty plastic or glass cylinder. Fresh seed is gravity-fed to the feeding ports as the birds eat from the bottom up, meaning that the reservoir stays clean and untouched. It protects your expensive seed investment from being ruined by the wind, rain, and snow while preventing the growth of dangerous mold and bacteria. Standard tube feeders with medium-sized ports are perfect for those black oil sunflower seeds or safflower seeds. Many high-quality models will feature interchangeable ports and can be bought as specialized thistle tubes with tiny slit openings designed specifically to hold fine, expensive Niger seed without spilling. They work flawlessly with the hulled sunflower chips, which prevents discarded seed shells from accumulating and killing the grass beneath your feeding station. Suet feeders are another great option. A suet feeder is the ultimate energy station and the single best tool for captivating those tree-clinging birds close to your window. Suet is dense, rendered beef fat mixed with nutritional add-ins like nuts, insects, and berries. During freezing winter nights, small birds burn massive amounts of body fat just to stay warm. A suet block provides the instant concentrated calories they need to refuel and survive the dawn rush. Unlike seed mixes, birds will consume 100% of the suet block, so there are no messy shells to clean up and no discarded debris to kill the lawn below. Suet mimics the high-protein, high-fat profile of the grubs and insects that wood-boring birds naturally hunt for in a tree bark. This is the most effective way to draw charismatic, stunning species that completely ignore standard seed feeders. A simple suet cage will reliably bring in those downy, hairy, and red-bellied woodpeckers alongside the white-breasted nuthatches, brown creepers, and Carolina wrens. The standard wire suet cage are incredibly inexpensive as well and durable against the elements. Because suet blocks are solid, they cannot blow away in the wind or spill onto the ground during heavy rainstorms like loose birdseed can. You can hang an upside-down suet feeder as well to create a puzzle. Woodpeckers and nuthatches can effortlessly cling upside down to eat, while heavy, aggressive bully birds like those starlings and grackles cannot. That will reserve your food for your favorite guests. Elements of a thoughtful bird feeding station. So this is where the fun really begins. By keeping these next elements in mind, you can become a thoughtfully strategic bird enthusiast by considering exactly which foods and feeder combinations are most likely to bring in the daily, seasonal, and rare birds. You'll also need to be thoughtful about where to place your feeders, so you can create an inviting and safe environment for the birds. You should start with a good foundational feeder. It should hold a seed blend that attracts 80% of the local birds. It should also be able to feed many birds at one time and hold enough seed to last 4 or more days without refilling. Many feeders can serve as a foundational feeder, including those we have already discussed, such as the hopper feeders, large tube feeders, and suet feeders. Water is also very important. Water can attract as many birds to your yard as food offerings, and often attracts birds that do not normally visit your feeders, such as the migrating warblers and thrushes. Choose from hundreds of bird bath options, from ground level to pedestal base to ones that attach to deck rails. It is important that the birds are able to land comfortably and bathe in the water depth appropriate for their size. The basin should be easy to empty and clean. Nearby landing spots are also important. Perching branches are one of the most important elements of your bird feeding stations. Nearby branches can double the number of birds visible at one time. Individual birds and flocks will need branches for perching or gathering as they prepare to visit the feeders and as they leave. Natural or man-made perching branches are also used by chickadees and titmice to crack open seeds or nuts grabbed from the feeders. And hummingbirds will use them as observation and resting spots. Some birds, such as the woodpeckers and nuthatches, prefer vertical landing surfaces. Your perching branches might have a vertical central trunk, or you can attach a slab of tree bark or wooden plank to a feeder pole. Woodpeckers use these vertical landing spots as they approach the feeders or await their turn at the fat feeders. Nuthatches typically prefer to land upside down on a bark-like surface and then fly to the feeder. Feeder locations. When deciding where to put your feeders, you need to consider several factors, including the bird's easy and safe access to the feeders, their visibility from your observation points, and ease of filling and cleaning, and the proper distance from trees, windows, and low shrubs. The more feeding stations and the wider variety of feeder heights, the more birds that will come to your feeder. Birds of different species are more comfortable gathering in one area if the feeders offer perches at varying heights. Now, we always have the critters that like to come in and eat the bird seed too. So to make sure that your feeding station is free of squirrels, chipmunks, raccoons, those nuisance birds, and even cats, there are universal problems that can be solved or nearly solved with simple strategies. The goal is to maximize your joy in viewing your favorite birds and to minimize frustrations and feeder damage while eliminating any danger to the birds. So to defeat those squirrels, we follow the 5-7-9 rule. Squirrels can jump 5 feet up off from the ground, 7 feet across from trees or fences, and will drop down from heights up to 9 feet. So you should place your station completely outside of this jumping zone. Another great way is to install a baffle. You can mount a smooth metal torpedo-shaped baffle on your feeder pole. It must be at least 4.5 to 5 feet off the ground so that squirrels can't jump over it. We also have pre-treated hot pepper, suet, and seed cylinders. Mammals have heat receptors and hate the burn, but those birds are completely immune to it and eat it happily. Here's a picture of a baffle on one of the feeders. Raccoons and possums can also get in and steal your food. So to avoid them, you should not hang your feeders directly from any weak tree branches. And you should use a heavy-duty metal pole that can support a large locking raccoon baffle. Raccoons and possums are strictly nocturnal. If they become a persistent issue, you can simply bring your feeders indoors at sunset and then hang them back up in the morning. And if you use trash cans to store your backup bird seed outside, you should lock the lids down tightly using heavy-duty rubber bungee cords, because raccoons have incredibly dexterous hands and can easily pop standard lids open. Now those bully birds. We do have weight-activated feeders. If you invest in a squirrel-proof feeder that doubles as a bully bird blocker, when a heavy crow or grackle lands on the perch, their weight automatically will pull down a metal shroud that blocks access to the food ports. You could also change the menu. Those large birds love cheap corn, wheat, and peanuts, so you could switch your feeder entirely to safflower seed. Cardinals, nuthatches, and finches love it, but starlings and grackles find it bitter and will abandon your yard, hopefully. You can also do an upside down suet cage. Woodpeckers and chickadees have strong leg muscles that can easily feed while hanging upside down, but those heavy starlings cannot grip the bottom and will hopefully move on. So at this point in your birding journey, you'll want to look at ways to improve your overall habitat to provide natural food, water, cover, and places to raise their young. You can do more to make your yard more bird-friendly and to entice an even greater variety of birds by diversifying your habitat. The wonderful thing that is when you create a space for the birds, you're also creating a space for yourself. Every living thing needs the right environment if it's going to survive and thrive. The greater the habitat diversity, the greater the variety of birds that find their needs met by it. I recommend the following to create a diverse and bird-friendly landscape. Install woody plants ranging from small bushes to medium-sized trees and shade trees. Plant both evergreens and deciduous trees. Plan for fruit, berries, and nuts during the summer, fall, and winter, and also plan in some dense woody places for those birds to hide. Perennials are important for birds too. For hummingbirds, butterflies, moths, and bees, you should plant perennials of various heights that flower at different times, and also include perennials that produce seed heads for the birds to eat. Annuals can work. They're beautifully colored, rapidly growing, with flowers that produce seed heads that provide food and nesting material for the birds, such as these goldfinches. All of these plants provide fruit, nuts, seeds, sap, and buds, and host a lot of insects that will become their food as well. So now that you're focused on getting even more in tune with the natural world, you can expand and scale back your food and feeder setup with the seasons. As you learn the annual patterns of the migrating birds, you can anticipate their arrival and departure in the spring and fall, and then change your food and feeders to accommodate their movements. You'll be ready for big events such as blizzards, ice storms, and drought. Now let's talk about the tapestry of expected and unexpected visitors that create daily excitement in our yards. We can divide our visitors into several groups. We have year-round residents, seasonal residents, and spring-fall migrants. Each species has its own certain habitats at different seasons. Year-round residents are those birds that can be reasonably expected to be seen or heard almost every day of the year. Just which species are resident varies from one region to the next. Year-round resident birds can meet all their needs within a small local area. Seasonal residents are birds that migrate between distant summer and winter homes. For example, in much of the U.S., dark-eyed juncos make their home with us only in the winter, and then they travel to Canada or to higher elevations in the western mountains for nesting. Here in Indiana, it is fairly predictable that as soon as the dark-eyed juncos have headed north in the spring, the ruby-throated hummingbirds will show up. Many birds pass through our yards on their journey between their winter and summer homes. Your yard, in other words, can be considered a migration stopover point. Scientists have emphasized that the habit and food supply at these stopover points are just as important as the conditions at each end of their journey. Migration can last several weeks, and exhausted birds must restore their depleted fat stores along the way. The arrival of uncommon visitors is what makes feeding the birds so much fun. At migration time, unusual birds may stop over for a bite before taking to the skies again, or they may visit to restore their energy before settling down nearby. A good way to find out which of these birds are in your yard is to visit your local bird store like Wild Birds Unlimited. Nothing we enjoy more than to talk about the birds that you all are seeing. You can also consult a wide range of internet sources. The Cornell Lab of Ornithology makes available many years' worth of data about birds at feeders all over North America, along with some very helpful resources to help you identify the birds in your yard. To see the 25 most abundantly seen birds in your area, you can go to a feeder watch online, and there's the website there. It's also through Cornell. And then also to learn more about North American birds in detail, you can go to All About Birds. It's also another service from the Cornell Lab. It's a great online service, all kinds of information at your fingertips. And phone apps are also really great these days. They're an effective way to identify the birds by using your smartphone. There's a Merlin bird app, which I'm sure a lot of you are already familiar with, and it will just ask you a few questions about your environment, and then we'll show you several possible identifications, one of which is probably what you're looking for. Here are the resources I have used to get my information today, and I also have some information up here about gardening for wildlife. If you do a lot of these activities already, you're practically all the way there, and you can get a cute little sign and sign up for it and be certified for your yard. So there's information for that up here as well. Thank you.
Kelly has time to take some questions.
Yeah.
So if anyone has any questions, please. I do.
Okay.
So when you talked about the flat feeders, do those flat feeders hang or can you?
They can hang.
Or do you
Typically,
set them
yeah.
on-
I have a picture of one here. Let me show you. They typically go on a pole, or they have a pedestal, like a feet on them that will sit on the ground. But they also have some that hang that are easy to use as well.
And would you talk about cleaning?
Yes.
How often do you need to clean
Yeah.
your feeders and bird baths?
I would say bird baths need to be cleaned every 2 weeks, especially in the hot summer when things, you don't want mosquitoes forming inside of there, and you just dump the whole thing out and start fresh. We do have these wonderful copper discs that you can put into your bird baths that will help keep away bacteria and mold and algae, and they work for everyone that uses them. They're great. And it's also a good idea to put a few rocks in your bird baths, because some birds aren't as big as some of the other birds, and so some like to just get in and take a little drink, and some like to get all the way in and get completely wet. So that's another great idea. And then I think cleaning your feeders as the seasons change is efficient enough, as long as you're filling them regularly and you're constantly going in, they're emptying them out and you're filling them again. Just once every season is usually a good way to do it. And you can just use a 10% bleaching solution. It's very simple. Just put them in a big bucket. That's what we do. Hose them off. Yeah.
People are records that typically want to say that you know, and so,
Oh my goodness.
like we had it.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Oh, interesting. Oh, let loose. Interesting. Wow.
The gentleman in the front row was just observing that he knew someone who had gone up to Hubby Lake and had seen a peacock. And the question was it a peacock that maybe had been in captivity at some point in time and someone released it and that's how it was there. It was recognized as a peacock because fan these beautiful colors. Does anybody else notice seeing that?
Yeah, that's unusual, I would say. Yes.
Comment on cleaning the bird feeders and problems with nitrous. I used to buy some of my nitrous seed at a different place,
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't work very well. And I got spiders and things.
Yes.
So I buy it now, Wild Birds Unlimited, because
Great.
they keep it dated, keep it fresh.
That's right.
They rotate it, and I don't buy more than 10 pounds at a time.
That's a good idea.
And
Mm-hmm.
I also clean that feeder at least twice a year. if
Yeah.
Not more, because it'll get
Stuck down in the bottom. That's
so
true.
I think that's an exception to the rule.
You're right. The small, and also those fine sunflower chips, if you use those in your finch feeders, they can get clogged up in there as well. And I've had to take my feeder completely apart to get some of those out. But yes, you do need to do those a little more
The
often.
feeder that I bought from you, the yellow one, comes
Mhm.
apart.
Yes.
It's not super easy, but it comes apart.
Yes.
And you can clean it completely. And if you lose a part, which I did lose one of the things,
Yeah.
you can replace the parts for free.
Absolutely. A lot of our feeders are that way. I know it is a big investment to spend a lot of money on a feeder, but most of them are meant to last. And if anything were to happen to them, you just bring them in and we will get them up and running for you. Again, at usually no cost, if not just a minimal charge.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to share with you, for those of us who have ever stood up in front of a group and spoken publicly, it's not easy. It's frightening. It takes a lot of courage. Now, this brave young woman said to me tonight, I said, how is it that you came to us from your store? And she said, my colleagues are shy and soft-spoken. And if you have visited wild birds, I would imagine you would recognize that. And I said, well, how long have you been doing this? And she said, well, she asked if we could keep
Yes,
it
I said
between
just
us.
between you and
but
me.
I just think you all need to know, this is her second public talk. Seriously, right?
Thank you.
Isn't that just incredible? That takes a lot of courage. Kelly, thank you
You're
for
very
coming and
welcome.
doing this.
Thank you for having
giving
me.
us this talk. The Friends of the Working Men's Institute give an honorarium to our speakers.
Thank you so much.
And to our treasurer, I didn't lose it tonight, so that's good. So there's your
Thank you.
honorarium.
I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this program and you do not belong to our organization, please join us. Mrs. Shelley Batt is here tonight. She is our treasurer. We have forms outside that you can fill out. We just need your email address and your $15. And anyway, that's how we have these kind of wonderful programs. Our next lecture will be July 4th. Murphy Auditorium, 10 a.m. It'll be a wonderful celebration. And this year, you may already know that our July 4th keynote speaker is the emissary of William McClure, Director Ryan Rokicki. So thank you so much for coming. There's snacks and
There's also a coupon over there to grab if you'd like to come in and get a free bag of birdseed
for a drawing.
and a drawing as well for a
And
free bird feeder.
literature.
And feel free to look up here as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, thanks.
Terrific.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And some of those birds were just
No.